During my career, one thing I was known for was my ability to dictate where I want the fight to take place. In these videos, I will show you different sequences. I get in with a good decoy. It gives me a perfect opportunity to go back to our first technique that I used in my career to set up my takedowns and take my opponent down. It's an action-reaction response. I fake, I get in. When strikes are involved, it changes everything. Great decoy. I will show you the mistakes that most people do and how you can optimize the situation in your favor. In these videos, I will be with my training partner, Hussein Ruslanzada. One of the things I'm the most well known for in mixed martial art is my ability to control where I want the fight to take place, whether standing up or on the ground. In this sequence, I'm gonna show you a bunch of ways to take your opponent down in a close stance position. So I'm in a close stance position. This is close stance. If Hussein changes stance, it's called open stance. It's different. So we'll start working on a close stance position. I'm gonna show you how I use my double leg takedown. How I get in, first I need a distraction. I like to use my jab and sometimes my cross. Now we're gonna start with the jab. If I use my jab, my head naturally goes this way. If I use my cross, my head goes this way. So it would be different takedowns. So we start with the double leg, close stance. I use my jab to create a distraction in order to get to his leg. When I get to his leg, I get elbow deep. If I ask Hussein to sprawl, he can't sprawl because of the grip that I have on his leg. If I only get in and grab his leg, he has a lot more power. So it's important to connect your chest to his leg with elbow deep. I'm not a big fan of going on my knees for the takedown, so you want to stay on your feet. So first, distraction, get in, and once I'm in, I don't continue in a straight line. I turn the corner and I try to look across while I'm driving for the takedown. The danger in this technique is to go without setup. And if my opponent see me coming, he's gonna knee me in the same time. Or he can also time it and sprawl. I just simply find myself in a bad position. So very important, you want to create a distraction with your jab in order to get in and then turn the corner. Using my jab as a decoy, getting in elbow deep, my chest connected to his quad. When I turn the corner, I push off with my legs. Sometimes you fight an opponent who is much bigger and much stronger than you. So when you get in, with the perfect setup and everything, you get in and you try to drive his sprawl a little bit and you can't put him down. When you feel a lot of resistance, you step back and drop. So once again, you don't waste your energy for no reason. So when I create a good distraction, I get in and I try to drive. I just simply turn the corner. My opponent is exerting so much force to block me this way. There is nothing to prevent him from falling on the floor. So just by turning the corner and backstepping, applying a pressure down, he's gonna fall. Using a jab as a decoy, I really try to drive for my double leg, and when I feel the resistance, I turn on the other side. As I'm stepping back, I put pressure down. My favorite takedown technique is the single to switch to double leg. The reason is sometimes my opponent is a little bit too far away from me to catch his two legs in the same time. So what I do is I use the same setup with my jab, but I catch only one leg and I keep driving. Once I got one leg and I put his leg between my knees and I squeeze, I'm switching to the second leg. So I put my arm around his knees and I try to look across and drive with my head in an angle of 90 degrees. So once again, same setup of a double leg takedown. Use a distraction, the jab, get in, and then switch to a double leg and look across and drive. I use this technique in many of my fights.
I'm using a jab as a decoy. I get in a single leg deep, switching to double leg, driving in a 45-degree direction.
Sometimes when I get into my opponent's leg and I try to go for a double leg, he's blocking my elbow. So I'm here, same setup, jab, create a distraction. I get in, but as you see, I can't go to a double leg because he's blocking me. So what I do when that happens, I use a technique called the chest pressure. So create a distraction, get in, try to go for a double, but I can't because he's blocking me. Then I have a very good grip on his leg. I squeeze with my knee. I'm gonna take a little step inside and I try to point my toes inward as much as I can, and then I step behind my heel and I apply a pressure down with my chest. So once again, take the jab, get in, try to go for a double, it doesn't work. I switch to chest pressure.
Using my jab as a decoy, getting in that single. When I go for the double, I feel a lot of resistance. Then I step back and I go with a big pressure downward.
Sometimes when I get into my opponent's single leg and I try to go for a chest pressure, it will relieve the pressure, which is the defense to not get cut. And when you do so, I just simply switch back to a double leg. So let's get into the situation. Distraction, I get in. I try to go for the chest pressure, but you pay attention to Usain's body. He's shifting his weight. I switch back to double leg. Let's do it one more time. I'm driving, chest pressure doesn't work, I switch back immediately to double leg.
Use my jab as a decoy. When I get to the single leg, I go for the chest pressure. My opponents resist. Then I drive across back to the double leg using the power of my legs.
When I fake and I get into a good single leg position, sometimes the chest pressure doesn't work, the double leg doesn't work, and I'm stuck in that position. One thing I need to do when I'm in here is trying to lift my opponent by his center line. Imagine his spine, that's the center line. And when I'm gonna do so, I use my hips to lift him, not only my arm. It's more economic when you use your leg because your legs are much stronger than your arm. So I get in, and then if nothing works, I try chest pressure, I try double leg, it doesn't work. So what I do in that case is I regrip myself in his center line. You see, I'm not behind his knee, I'm going in his crotch. It's called a crotch lift. I'm gonna step back and in one swinging motion to lift him. Here. Very often, he's gonna either put his hand on the floor or fall on his back. If he put his hand on the floor, I have a clear way to take his back and create some damage. Once again, so I'm in a situation that I get in his leg, nothing works, no problem, I'm backing up, time is up, and put him down with the crotch lift. Then in this situation, his back is open. There's times that Usain will fall on the side and end up on his back right away. If he's more of a jiu-jitsu fighter, for example, and accept that his back is on the floor. So when that happens, I'm gonna recreate the situation. Here, the fight starts here on the floor. So, depending the reaction of your opponent, the initial technique is the same, but you need to be ready for different outcomes.
I use my jab as a decoy, getting in deep, and then I step back and I lift him with the power of my hips by his center line. And after I'm done, I make sure I put all my weight on him for preventing him to stand back up.
When we get in a single leg position, head outside, and we don't like to take our opponent down with the leg, and we want to attack the body, a great way to do it is by going behind my opponent's back, lock my hand, and lift him with my hips. So same beginning, I get in. I'm trying to put him down with the leg, but he's very, very good. So what I do is instead of focusing on the leg, I try to get his entire body. Here, I lock and I step in. Watch out the position of my foot. I do 2 steps. 1, 2, and I thrust my hips up, lift him, and put him down. When I'm here, I got his back ready for other attacks. Once again, I'm in the position with Usain, and I want, from the single leg, attack his body. The advantage of this is that if he's someone very flexible with a good balance, he can't do anything because I'm lifting his entire body up. He has nothing that touches the floor. Here, lock the body, thrust with my hips, and then I got his back.
Good jab decoy, getting in deep on that single, wrap my hands around, and lifting him up with the power of my legs and the thrust of my hips. Make sure I keep my weight on top of him.
Sometimes when we get into a single leg position, our opponent is very heavy and has a great balance. And another option that we have is to take his back with a duck under. So when I'm here, create a distraction, I get in. Very important, when I reach across his body, I don't want, and this is by the way a big mistake that most people do, I just don't want to simply just lift because it's not gonna work. What I want to do when I'm here, I want to drive across him. Like the similar way I would do a double leg, but I'm driving with my head. And now you see that I take his back. Before he reacts, it's very important that I try to keep my head as close as possible. If my head is not close, he can go and take a wizard from here. If he turns around, now he can go back in a neutral position. So if he tries to take a wizard now, it's very hard because my head is stuck to him. The way I'm gonna put him down, I'm gonna put my knees in front of his toes and shrug him forward and trip him. Once again, I create a distraction, I get in, I reach across, I squeeze with my knees and my arms is deep, then I drive. Take his back, and this time, put my knees, shrug him forward. Now I'm ready for other attack.
Using a jab as a decoy, getting in deep on that single. He's very heavy. I switch, taking his back with a duck under. I step with my knee in front of his foot, throwing him down forward, putting my weight on top of him.
After a duck under, very often my opponent is gonna try to walk away from me and try to fight off my grip to go back and turn and be back in a neutral position. So let's recapitulate. I fake, I get in, duck under, and now my opponent is walking away. As you can see, I'm timing his footstep, and I sweep him. And when I sweep him, it's not only a movement with my foot, it's a movement with my hips. Make sure you get your hips into it, because your power comes from your hips. Your hips are the most powerful part of your body. It's very important you use it. Once again, I fake, get in, duck under. He's walking away. I'm timing his footstep, and I put him down.
Use my jab as a decoy, getting in deep. He's too heavy. Then I switch to a duck under, taking his back. The key in this technique is the timing. So I time his footstep and I sweep his leg. When I sweep his leg, I target his foot and I put all my weight on top of him.
So sometime when I get my opponent's back, he's got a fantastic balance and he's blocking my body to prevent me from tripping him forward. And he doesn't even move and he's very solid. When that happens, and I can no longer go forward, I'm going backward. So what you're saying, same thing. I get in, duck under, and now he's got a tight position. I can't go forward. So what I do is when I can go forward, I trip his foot with the arch of my foot and I pull him on the side. And then I get on top. Once again, I get in, solid position, with my leg, with my arm, duck under. I can no longer go forward. So I'm tripping him by pulling him on one side into my sweep.
I use a jab as a decoy, getting in deep on that single. I take his back, and when I try to put him down with a forward pressure, he's creating a lot of resistance. Then I sweep the lowest part of his foot and bring him down backward.
Depending which side you like to put your head when you go for a takedown. You may like the jab better or the cross. But look at the mechanic of my body. When I throw the jab, my head naturally goes this way. When I throw the cross, my head goes this way. So it's more efficient if, for example, you like the jab to do all your takedowns this way. And it's more efficient if you like to set it up with the cross to do all your takedown this way. No matter if your opponent is closed stance or open stance. So now I'm going to show you the way to do it if you want to set it up with a cross. And when I say a cross, not only a straight cross, I think for the setup it's very important. When I throw my punch, not only a straight, I want it to be like a big overhand here. So when I set it up, the first one will be a single leg followed to a double leg, which is one of the most efficient takedown in wrestling. So when I want to get in, I want to get in with the cross and my head will go naturally inside. It's very important that I make him bite, then I can get in here. The danger in this technique is trying to go right away with a takedown, so he's gonna tie me with the knees. Very dangerous. So I want to make sure that he bites my baits. So I'm making it here and I get in deep with my head posted inside. What I want to do, depending on how we defend, a lot of guys, what they're going to do, they're going to take a wizard and put their leg outside with a good defense. That's how good wrestlers will defend the takedown. When that happens, I step inside and I go collect his other leg here. It's called a single to double leg takedown. If his leg doesn't go outside, I can myself manually put it outside to clear the path and go for the takedown. So once again, very important that I create a threat here with a big overhand and I push him with my forehead as I'm collecting the leg, because pay attention to this, guys. If I try to lift his leg and he's very heavy, spending a lot of energy. If he's very heavy and I use my head like a bowl to make him go backward, his leg become very light. So you need to use your head as a hammer to push him. So once again, single to double. I get in here and I put him down. Once again, Big overhand. I get in and I put him down.
Using a big cross as a decoy, forward pressure with my head, and I drive through as I'm stepping in, collecting the other legs.
Sometime when I get in, my opponent is making a great job of defending with a powerful wizard, and he's got a good grip on my wrist. And I don't feel comfortable when he's here to switch to a double leg, because I feel like if I switch to a double leg, he's gonna sprawl and I'm gonna lose everything. So I can use that pressure against him with a chest pressure. So I'm getting in, same thing with a big overhand. Use my head as a hammer. And then what I do is I take a little step and I try to bring my toes inward in order for me for my second step to step behind my heel and applying a pressure with my chest down on his leg. 1, 2. Once again. Very important when you do that move, your first step, toes in, not toes out. Toes in, and then my second step, behind my heel, and I press down.
Big decoy with my cross, stepping in a single leg, head inside. Little step in front of him and a big step behind my foot. Big pressure on his leg to put my opponent down.
Sometime when I get in a single leg position and my opponent got a good solid one, and I try to go for a chest pressure, he released the pressure. I get Usain into a solid chest pressure and you get my wrist. As soon as I try to apply the pressure, he's gonna release the pressure. And he's gonna put his leg outside. When that happens, it leaves me a perfect opportunity to go back to our first technique, which is the double leg. So, what is the most important thing technically in fighting is the basic, the fundamental. Sometimes when one thing doesn't work, you go back to the first one. And when the second one doesn't work, go back again. It's redundant, but it's important. So once again, I'm here. I get in. He's got a good position. When I try to go for the chest pressure, pay attention to his leg here. He's gonna put it outside and he's gonna release the pressure. Then it's gonna force me to switch to our initial double leg technique.
Using a cross as a decoy, level change, I get in, go for a chest pressure, he defend, I drive through with the power of my leg, collecting his other leg.
If I get in on a single leg, head inside on my opponent, and I have a hard time to putting him down with his leg, like for example when I fought BJ Penn, I had a very hard time putting him down. He's so flexible, he's got a great balance. A great way to put your opponent down, it's by lifting his entire body. And one way to do so, it's with a crotch lift. So I want to make sure that my grip is not only on his leg, my grip get in his crotch, because I want to lift him by the center line. The center line is the middle of his eye to middle of his chest to his belly button. So once again, I'm going to use the momentum and my hips to do so. I'm not only going to lift him with my arm. I get in the same way. Here, use my head. Now pay attention to my head. I'm going to relock and bring him towards me in order to lift him and slam him on the floor. My head will duck under in the same time. My head will duck under his arm. So once again, here, I'm bringing him to me, and I put him down. Other way. Put him down.
Using my big cross as a decoy, level change, single leg, and I can't put him down because of the flexibility of his leg. I step back and I lift him up by his center line by lifting his hips, and I put all my weight on top of him.
If you like body lock takedown, this one is for you. So I'm here. I get in here. So I'm gonna switch to the leg, to his body. So I'm here, reaching back, grabbing, and make sure that my head is posed with the pressure. The danger in this position is if I'm too forward, my opponent can throw me here. So it's very important when I get in, I apply pressure with my head. I'm dictating the pressure. I don't let him dictate the pressure. So when I go across his hips and I lock my hand, it's very important that I try to break his spine. When I break his spine, look at the position of my foot. I step behind him to put him down and break his posture. Once again, here I get in, break his spine with the pressure of my arm and my head that goes in the opposite direction.
Using the big cross as a decoy, I get in on a single, reach across, and I break his posture down with the power of my body.
Sometimes when I get the body lock position and I try to break my opponent's posture, he's too strong. So when I cannot break his posture, I sweep his leg. And I don't only sweep his leg with my leg, I sweep his leg with my hips as well. Make sure you throw your hips in there. So once again, I get in the same way. Here. And make sure you're not bent over to get thrown. Very important. Make sure you dictate a strong pressure with your head. Very solid. Align with your spine. So when I'm here, I go for the body lock and I try to break his pressure and he resists. He's too strong. So what I do is pay attention to my right foot here. I'm gonna sweep him with my hips in order to slam him down. So once again, I always try to break him with the pressure. When he resists, the force that he gives me, it's a perfect counter for the sweep. So go step by step. I'm here. I'm dictating the pressure with my head solid. Align with my spine. Change my grip. Try to break. Slam him down. Very important to use your hips and your knee. It's more your knee than the arch of your foot. It's the knee that does the job. You want to table his legs.
Use my big cross as a decoy. I get in on single. Then I reach across. Can't put my opponents down with the pressure. Then I sweep him by using my hips.
Sometimes I get in a single leg position and my opponent is just very heavy. He's driving forward with his foot and he put his leg down. And I waste a lot of energy. When that happens, I can do something else. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive forward, reach across his back and drive forward with hooking with my leg and hooking his leg with my arm at the same time. So once again, I get in, but he's very heavy, so his leg falling down. When his leg fall down, no problem. I change the grip of my arm and my legs as well. So once again, I'm in this position. His leg touches the floor. I want to make sure I apply a strong pressure with my head going, making him go backward, otherwise I'm gonna get thrown. Very important. So when I switch, the pressure is always there with my head. And I put him down. One more. Here, I get in. But he's heavy. He's heavy, so I let him put his foot down in order to switch my grips and hook his leg. Hop. For the takedown.
Using my big cross as a decoy, single leg, I pull my opponent back, reach across his hips, and I put him down with both of my hooks.
Sometimes I don't need to grab my opponent if I'm not comfortable to do so. I can use a quick takedown that comes from the power of my hips. So I'm here, I'm using the same setup, but instead of hitting him, the beginning of the punch will be the same, but I will use a cross. I'm gonna hit not on him, right next to him as I'm stepping. When I'm here, I'm gonna lower my level, table my leg, and thrust my hips forward and arch my back. So once again, I need to make him believe this is coming. The danger is trying to step in without any setup, and when I do so, I'm vulnerable to a counter. So don't ever do that. Very important that first you want to try to make him aware of the threat. You hear he's blocking. He's blocking again. Here. Then he's blocking, but I'm coming in to take him down.
I'm using my cross as a decoy, and I make sure I'm getting deep with my hips.